Hi guys. Hi everybody.
Back for another review once again. And this time I'm going to be reviewing something really a completely different movie. This movie is called Deadspace. Um, I don't know what to say about this, to be honest with you. It's kind of a bootleg movie that I just recently just watched for the first time. It was for free, so I saw it for free on Tubi. Yeah, a lot of people have never heard this movie before. Probably a gem, for all I know. This movie's called Deadspace, right? And the funny thing is, some people will be confused with the actual, video game Dead Space, even though this movie has no part of. This movie has like no part of the game from Dead Space. You know, I'm supposedly I think this is a remake of another science fiction horror movie called Forbidden World, and I see some bad takes on it. So yeah, so it's about an astronaut played by Mark Singer helps a scientist played by Laura Tate fight a metamorphic virus at her space lab. Yeah, that's basically the plot. I don't know what else to say about it. I, I don't know. This movie was very short, like barely an hour, 18 minutes. Like that's very short. Mark Singer was like a great B master of in V. So what the hell was he thinking with this? Besides the girl taking off her standard issue spandex nightwear, all female crew seem to have you got nothing but pumping limitless rounds until like the only bulletproof organism is there is. This movie wasn't about a disease. It is a disease, particularly. This bargain basement aliens Forbidden World knockoff was kind of terrible. But it probably hilariously bad. This amusingly even reuses space battle footage from like the Battle Beyond from Stars or something. It's terribly acted, directed, and opts for the brave choice of using wholly inappropriate music and effects to further degrade the woefully lacking suspense. Special effects aren't even the least bit special, with creature effects being almost funny and laughably derivative. Mark Singer, I can understand being awful, but even the usual reliable Bryan Cranston is even terrible in this movie. Right? The Breaking Bad dude. I haven't seen Breaking Bad in a while. To see him in this movie is just shocking to me. I didn't even know he was in this movie. Um, yeah, this is the first time I watched it. Never seen this movie with Bryan Cranston before. It's like this is not even so bad. It's good movie. It's like just plain bad. Like one of Corman's worst efforts, and that's saying a lot. I mean, it's funny seeing a young Bryan Cranston act circles around what is commonly accepted in in a movie with the stature and everywhere else in a film that ultimately is a fairly underwhelming and extremely routine alien clone, notable for its title just as much as Cranston. Death Space is confusing as a confusing experience because the movie is undecided as to whether it wants to be a spoof of the man versus monster cosmic horror or a lazy cash in. Granted, the visual effects are extremely charming, even some of the special effects are recycled from other movies in that typical Corman fashion. It's at least sufficiently entertaining but pretty short, meaning it won't take up too much of your time to view this little oddity. If nothing else, it's good for a laugh, which I which I find hilarious. Yeah, yeah, it totally made my night. This movie, on paper, a film with which Bryan Cranston plays like a scientist battling a slimy creature of his own creation should be like shockingly gold, and yet it isn't. At all, this movie is crippled beyond recovery by its $1.98 budget that asks us to believe that the barely redressed conference rooms, service hallways, industrial warehouses, and accounting offices on display are actually supposed to comprise some kind of ultra cool, futuristic research facility, couple the non existent production designs with horrendous cinematography. The sets seem to have been been lit either by harsh fluorescent floodlights or not lights at all, often within the same scene. And if you got a movie that looks just plain awful, that said, Cranston is legitimately good as shockingly Mark Singer as the constantly irritated, wisecracking fixer called in to deal with the monster situation. All told, however, this is not so bad it's good. It's so bad it's bad. Just a waste of an hour of my life like that I'll never get back. Deadspace, not the game, the movie, starring Bryan Cranston and Mark Singer, is yet another alien ripoff from Roger Corman. But this time he seems to be ripping off his own ripoff, Forbidden World. At least that's how it comes to me. The movie itself is a bit of a dud with a few splashes of interest throughout. Mark Singer doesn't do much to improve things. He just sort of there. While he tries to have a commanding presence, he sort of fails. He sort of fails this. There's some nice gore shots for those who are interested. Please, I've seen better gore shots in Evil Dead than whatever the fuck this is. But the framework surrounding them is mostly boring. I would recommend it mainly to fans of bad movies and Roger Corman productions, but otherwise, most won't get anything out of it at all. It's just another Corman alien ripoff. I mean, I lost count of how many alien ripoffs this guy has made. That it is as boring as it looks, just worthy for the completed god awful love couple. Bryan Cranston looking grave around the super horrible looking alien design, and some hilarious puppet fights. Especially the robot fighting the monster remind me of an episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. After he got slayed from the monster. Even the gore is boring on this one. Just steady shots of corpses laying around. Yeah, this is quite possibly the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just a joke and low budget movie, crap quality. They look like the quality of this movie, the quality of this recording of the movie is like a potato quality. Yeah, so it's just maybe it could be enjoyable at times, but for the forgiving amount who you don't mind a nice bit of cheese, unless you choose to rent or just stream it temporarily, never buy it. People say that it's a downgraded remake of a movie that was only so to so to begin with. I never thought I'd see a movie so cheap jack and awful that I feel embarrassed for Mark Singer just for being in it. You know, if you can get your hands on Forbidden World, there's just isn't much of a reason to watch this. This movie is murky, monotonous, boring, inert, although with a passable monster suit. The monster suit, I assure you, is not even enough to make this as an enjoyable watch. The coldness of space, even hell freezes over. Deadspace. Tagline: why is that bad movies always have the best taglines? Look at it. It isn't the thing of a beauty. Sadly, Deadspace actually lives more up to its title, as one really has to have Dead Space between their ears to love this remake. What? Did I just type the word remake? Dead Space is a remake? No way. Yes, Dead Space, also released in Europe as Biohazard. Great. Another title to be confused with another video game franchise. It's a 1990 remake of the 1982 film Forbidden World. Out of all the films you could think of that would warrant a remake, I guarantee Forbidden World was not one of the films thought of. The DVD box artwork, right? The DVD box artwork claims this is a loose remake. Loose. Oh crap. This film is so much like Forbidden World that might as well ripped off the title page of the script to Forbidden World and replaced it with a title page that read Deadspace. That's how close these two films are. Don't believe me? Watch them back to back, and they are almost the exact same film. Just this one is shittier. Since they are so much like alike, getting rid of for numerous comparisons to the other film, like Forbidden World or Alien Ripoff, plot has a space mercenary, Mark Signer, and his robot sidekick respond to a distress call from a scientific research station after blowing up some spaceships of some unknown enemy, utilizing stock footage from Battle Beyond the Stars, just like the other film. He arrives and discovers that the team has had a biological creation bust loose and has started killing off the crew one by one, and it's up to him to destroy it. Since the plot is the same as the other film, the filmmakers wisely decide to give this film a different look. Forbidden World had like warm colors with lots of reds and oranges. Dead Space has the opposite of cool and sterile, I meant to say, colors. Meaning lots of white, black, and blues. I'll commend them on that. At least they attempted to distance this picture from that other film in that respect. The scientists here also look and act more like real scientists, whereas in that other film, the scientists were goofballs or sluts. The best part of this remake, though, is Mark fucking Singer, as he really seems like a space mercenary, unlike that toad of a guy from that other film. Other than those aspects, Dead Space fails miserably on all other accounts, making this a worse picture than that other film. First of all, the directing is boring. Director Alan Halsman had a little more pizzas and gave Forbidden West a cool 80s new wave look. Fred Gallo gives Dead Space a unflattering direct-to-video look. The special effects are much worse and less creative than in its counterpart, and our creature is reduced to a badly made stiff puppet by the end. The third is the sets and the special effects. They are boring, cheap, and looking unlike the inspired sets of the other film, which were of course leftovers from Galaxy of Terror. What score? The other film had a cool retro 80s soundtrack, and I can't even remember the score for this picture. Though we get a topless scene, fans of gratuitous nudity in the other film, right, are going to be sorely disappointed after all that we have a lame, pointless remake of trashy, enjoyable classic. Mark Singer may be a better choice for a space mercenary, but his presence isn't enough for this remake to rise to the occasion. I recommend skipping it unless you're a curious movie lover like me who wanted to see how Roger Corman could fuck up a remake of an older classic of his. Released on DVD in a double feature with The Terror Within. Yeah, very generic animation movie. Wait a minute. People actually believe that this is a animation film or has anything to do with the game. Um, you know, for those of you who like to say that this movie has something to do with the game, you need to double check because you don't even know what you're talking about. This movie has nothing to do with the game from Electronic Arts. You know, as a matter of fact, I'd rather play the game than watch this piece of crap movie any freaking day of the week. I would rather play the original Deadspace, or I play the remake than watch this piece of crap movie. You know what? Fuck this movie. This movie is a waste of time. It's not nothing I've seen satisfies me. All I ever did was laugh my ass off watching this crappy movie. This movie doesn't scare me. This movie is a joke. It's straight to DVD. It looks like a straight to DVD horseshit from 1990. Yeah, nothing else I could say. Just don't watch it. Just watch something else. Watch Aliens or watch something else. Or if you wanna, or just play Deadspace and skip this movie.